Yo guys, today is day 347 of making a YouTube video every day for 365 days and seeing where God takes me. And yes, I do wear glasses. For those of you that have been watching along for a while, you probably never even guessed. But I've been wearing glasses for a couple of years now, just never really wear them. But because I've been doing so much work on my laptop, so much reading, so much writing, they've had to be bunged on. And now if I take them off, they need to be on, so they're going to be on probably for the next couple videos. But anyway, change. My dad is an old man, 72 years old. He's never had a phone. If I gave him this phone, he wouldn't have a clue how to use it. He doesn't have a bank card. He doesn't know how internet banking works. He's got a checkbook and cash. That's it, right? And my dad has always somewhat been against change. Not so much in the continuously learning. I'm not talking about that, because internally we have to change to grow, right? We have to learn, we have to read, we have to educate ourselves. We change as we develop. We have realizations, actualizations, visualizations. We put in the work, and every time we put in the work and learn these things, we change. Something inside of us changes, right? Potential is unlocked. We change from being a little silly, stupid boy to somewhat of a grown-up man, right? That's a change. But what my dad doesn't like is external change. And it's taken me up until this point in my life to really understand what he's talking about. And again, I probably don't fully understand what he's talking about, but I get it. Because external change does nothing apart from almost push you into a corner that eventually you don't want to be in, right? Which is what the book of Revelation somewhat talks about, and I'll mention this in a second. But let me give you an example of this change. Internet banking. It used to be gold, then it used to be trade, then it used to be cash. Now it's internet banking. Cash is still a thing. But in 10, 20 years, it might not be a thing. And so if you don't have a phone, if you don't have internet banking, you can't buy anything. Well, you've now been pushed into a corner, and you can't live unless you conform to this external change and get a phone, right? That's an extreme level. But there's all sorts of other things. Change. I want the new TV. I want the new phone. I want the new car. Someone's got all these. I want all of those things, right? I want them things. You've allowed someone else's external change to change you. And so who's in control of you right now? That other person, that external change, or your own emotions, right? Are you in control of yourself, or is the world in control of you? It's a valid question that you should be asking yourself, right? And the book of Revelation talks about this. It talks about how in the end times, well, it talks about the mark of the beast, for one. I could go into the book of Revelation. I've read it 3 or 4 times now. 3 times thoroughly, and I'm currently reading it again. And in one of the parts, one of the verses, it says, don't get the mark of the beast, essentially, is what it says. Talks about the mark of the beast, and those that don't, if you don't get the mark of the beast, you won't be able to buy or sell. The digital ID that's just come in, for example, and I'm not conspiracizing about this, but the digital ID that's just come in might seem harmless to a lot of people. But if the digital ID comes in over time, that digital ID could then have parts to it which require you to conform. For example, if your jabs and vaccines aren't up to date, your digital ID is not valid. If you go over your food consumption for the week, your meat consumption, your dairy consumption for the week, you're not allowed to buy it because your digital ID is in charge. This is all a bit extreme, but everything's extreme until it happens. And the mark of the beast, I would argue, in some way is kind of different to everyone else. Maybe not the mark of the beast, but I'm bringing it down to reality, and I'm almost bringing it to my dad's life. Because my dad's never had a phone. He doesn't want a phone. Maybe one day he'll have a phone, to communicate with family or whatever. But my dad's never had a phone. If all of a sudden the government says cash is not a thing, The only way you can go to the shop and buy something is with either a card to scan it or Apple Pay. My dad is not going to buy anything because he doesn't have any of those things. He doesn't know how they work, and his peace of mind is not anything to do with having a phone, right? So he's been given a choice now. His choice is you either sell your peace of mind and everything you've ever known and allow an external influence to change your consciousness in a way, or if you don't get all of those things, you're not going to be able to buy, you're not going to be able to live, you're not going to be able to do any of these things. He's given a choice. Knowing my dad, he'd rather sit on the sofa and starve and not drink anything until he disintegrates into an old little man and dies, than go out and get that phone and learn how to use Apple Pay. Now, a lot of people might think that's stubbornness. Just learn how to do it. Just do this, just do that. But where does that end? Okay, cool. Well, we'll learn how to use a phone. Okay, 10 years later, we'll learn how to use AI. Okay, 10 years later, we'll learn how to allow a robot into our homes to do all the work. Okay, 10 years later, 10 years later. And then eventually, well, we've just got no freedom. There's nothing left for us to even do. There's nothing left for us to have. Our consciousness has been infiltrated, and we now no longer have peace of mind because we're just not living in a world with God anymore. And it might sound extreme, but like I've already said, everything always sounds extreme until it happens. And then hindsight's 20/20. And so change is a funny thing. Change is a funny thing because in order to conform to society and grow with society, we have to change. But the only reason we have to change is because everything else is changing around us. And so if nothing changed around us, well, we wouldn't need to change. And if we wouldn't need to change, then we'd know what's happening and everything would just be as it is. Because over time, humans are adding things in that just don't need to be added whatsoever. Bigger and better TV. Bigger and better bank account, online banking. No, you don't need paperwork anymore because we're protecting the trees. So this time, instead of that, we're going to open up all these factories to make phones and, charge all these young foreigners, these kiddie foreigners, pay them like 1p a day to make all these phones, to then have these phones, to then pay digitally. And it's like, people think they're simplifying things. They love to title it with, we're making things easier. No, you're not. You're making things harder. You're making things more difficult over time. And if people don't conform, then they're left behind. If people don't conform, then they might be left in a little bit of a pickle. But if you tolerate everything, you stand for nothing. So where's the line here, right? And so change internally, I think, is good because we have to change in order to grow. But I think the more we change and grow internally, the less we want to change and grow externally. That's just the way I see it. The world is so focused on everything else but their relationship with God, but their relationship with themselves, and just having a happy family life, sat around a table, being able to buy, because that's what most people want. Most people in this life want to be able to afford food, afford drink, work and be able to pay their bills, sit around a table with their family and enjoy a meal, go to church, glorify God. That's life for most people. It's a strange one though, isn't it? Change. I'm not a big fan. I'm not a big fan of it. And the more I build my relationship with God, the closer and closer I get to Christ, the less and less I desire change. The less and less I want anything. The less and less I want to conform to the societies of this world. And the more I want is to just live simply, desire nothing, and Be at peace, mate. Because you can't put a price on peace of mind. And a lot of people are selling their peace. They're selling their peace for a little bit of silver and a little bit of gold and a new this and a new that. And eventually, they won't even understand what peace of mind is anymore, because they will literally be so instilled in all of the change that's happened that they've forgotten where they came from and who they are in the first place. And I think this journey of life is a massive journey of simply remembering who we were before the world told us who to be. And the more we listen to the world and who the world tells us who to be, the more difficult it is to remember who we truly are. And those that do know who they truly are don't want external change, because they don't need it, they don't desire it, they don't want it. There's nothing in it for them. Today's day 347 of making a YouTube video every day for 365 days and seeing where I end up. We're so close to the end now. Today's video is talking about change. See you tomorrow for another one at 9 p.m. GMT UK time. Sweet.